Hey Fit Fam, it's Coach Ryan from Team Flex. Today we are breaking down the NPC Worldwide E&E Grand Prix, and we are going to look at Bikini Division. We're going to look at our open class that contained the overall Class H at this event, and we're going to look at our top 5 competitors, talk a bit about that criteria, why the placings landed the way they did, and ultimately what it means for you as a bikini competitor out there or someone aspiring to be a bikini competitor in 2025 this season, what you need to know, what you need to be bringing to stage, and how you're going to get your best placing. That's basically what I cover on this channel 24/7. So if you're new here, subscribe, hang out. If you're a repeat viewer, I appreciate you watching. Drop a comment down below so I know you've been here before, and say hi. All right, let's get down to it. So we have, again, the NPC Worldwide E&E Grand Prix, and basically this is an event as part of the NPC Worldwide. And if you've been watching the channel a while, I always talk about how criteria outside the states, United States that being, tends to be always a little bit more aggressive. So we do tend to see that with competitions that happened up in Canada or in Europe or Australia, freaking anywhere, right? They tend to be a little bit more muscular, a little bit leaner, and a lot of times, and this looks pretty on par for our bikini division as far as where international competitions generally go. So just another point for all of you watching, right? You got to know kind of the look of your area, and this also does even happen in the States a bit too. Some areas of the United States competitions will go a bit softer, a little bit less muscular, and some areas it'll go harder and bigger, and you kind of definitely want to know those variables so you can match it to your look, match it to the way you prep, match it to the way you like to prep and the way you like to look, and also give yourself the best shot of placing, right? So just something to consider, especially if you're competing internationally. You want to know what the look is going to be there. As we know, Bikini Division is always about the hourglass shape, so we're going to see that exemplified in this lineup on all 3 of these athletes in the top here. By the way, for reference, this is our overall winner and class winner, Emily. We have over here Christina taking 2nd in this class, and then Julie over here taking 3rd. All of them are going to have that hourglass, but to a degree, it is a variance, as you can tell. So the hourglass is basically going to always be made up of the shoulders for the upper body. So looking at this, Emily, she does have the most development, the most roundness to her delts out of this top 3. So that's something you want to know, okay? That fullness, that roundness, this kind of complete look of front delt, lateral delt, and when we get to the back, we'll see the rear delt. This is a very key marker for you if you want to be a bikini competitor. You need to know how to do that. But you also notice it's not just about size. It's not about overwhelmingly large deltoids and huge size. If you have that, that's going to push you out of this division. That's going to make you look more like a figure competitor, right? You do want to have that fullness, that roundness, that development that indicates that shape to judges, and then obviously you've built that muscle, you put in that work, but it also has to fit your frame very well, right? So Emily here, if we look at this, she has very full delts, yes, but it also matches very, very well with her overall physique. And again, bikini, hourglass shape, symmetry up, down, left and right. That's what you're chasing. You're looking for that. So her shoulders actually may appear to be the most compact on the frame, but holding the most shape and the most development, right? So really key to remember that. Development doesn't just mean size. It doesn't mean just get bigger. It doesn't mean more massive delts and this and that. It means how do you maximize that look on your physique? Because that's ultimately what's going to place you highest. So she has a great shoulder development and shape here overall. It really starts the top of that hourglass out for us. Arm development I want to touch on for a second because this is a factor for a lot of divisions in the women's divisions where biceps and triceps, if you let them get out of hand, they're going to pull away from your look of your delt. She does not have that. She, really just has those biceps, triceps in the right realm where they're there. You can see them. They got some development, but it's not distracting, overall from her look or her aesthetic as a competitor, and that's really key, critical, what you want. Let's also note lat development here. So bikini competitors, you do want to be training your lats to a degree, depending on your physique, of course, to create width. And the reason is if you can get your lats wider, it helps the hourglass. There's no doubt about that, right? Your hourglass shape comes from a combo of these shoulders with this lat right here. So your back muscle training for width, even though your hair's down, judges are not scoring your back development per se, this actually can be an advantage if you have wide lats because it makes this tapered look more dramatic into the waist. Next thing you have to note, and what she clearly has, is this narrow waist going on, right? So criteria states flat stomach, Overall, not holding extra body fat. You don't want six-pack abs here. That oftentimes will score you down. You can have them if it's really kind of how your physique looks, but a lot of times it will end up scoring you down as an indicator you might be too lean. But you can see how a combo of a very small waist with a good lat sweep and a good shoulder sweep is a game changer for a look on stage. And it really exemplifies a dramatic hourglass look, which every single time judges are going to see that, they're going to say, whoa, what's going on here? That's that's something we want to take another look at. And oftentimes that lands you in the first call out, and then you end up going, higher in your placings. By the way, if everything I'm saying to you sounds good and you're getting ideas and you're getting all these insights here and you're like, whoa, this is cool. I like watching this. I like learning this. Go do my 7-day free coaching trial, okay? Way more in depth, way more interactive. You get to train with me free for 7 days. There's no obligation to sign up. You don't put credit card information in. You don't do any of that. Basically, it's part of what I do here. What I'm doing on YouTube is give back to the bodybuilding community. I'm out here trying to help you learn more so you can do better on stage, do all this and that. 7-day free coaching trial still remains that as part of my business. I started, my team a long time ago, and this was a way that I have always given back, is the ability for, me to be able to do this, to be able to coach and to be able to do it for my career and to help people. And I want to make sure everybody can get help. So that's why I do the 7-day trial. You should check that out. Link is in the description. You can literally pull your phone up right now, type in teamfflex.com/7-day trial, and just put your email in as I'm talking, and you're going to get an invite right into the app. And then I'll see you on the other side. I can give you feedback on check-ins, feedback on posing, show you how to train, answer any of your questions. I mean, it is a totally in-depth, very world-class experience that you will not regret doing. If you have not done it, you definitely want to check that out. Let's look lower body now, okay, for Emily here. So lower body wise, glute development, hamstring development, and quad development. This is a very international-esque look because it's a lot of muscle going on down here, right? Like this hamstring is super developed. This quad is a lot of development, and it almost does put her glute a little bit under looking, right? Like just because of how much muscle and size going on in the quads and the hams, you could say that glute could be a little bit under here, and that's okay because in this lineup, still the best balance, still the best symmetry. You have to remember, all of our class winners are still going to have things to work on, right? Even if you go win your competition, you're going to want to get feedback. You're going to want to talk to judges. You're going to want to get feedback. I mean, everybody does that, even the pro level, because you want to know how to do better. And even if you're at the top, right, these top Olympians that win the whole freaking world, of the division, they're still getting feedback. So, it's not to say that there's not things to work on for everybody. And for her, that lower body, the hamstrings and quads look a little bit overpowering to me to the glute, but overall still a very complete look. It's all clearly here, pulls it off nicely. Conditioning wise, very on par with what we would want to see in this division. So some soft lines here in the quads, a little bit in the glutes, flat stomach here, and then maybe a little bit of separation up top in the shoulders. All ties together to say that's a first place win and an overall win for her. Let's move down into second now. So we're looking over here at Christina. So second place here, still overall, very much you're going to see a lot of similarities. So good shoulder fullness, a little bit more in the bicep tricep, right? We talked about how that could be a deterrent in a way from looking at the deltoid size. For her, I do think just a tad more bicep and tricep, but she also doesn't have as much muscle in the delt anyway. So maybe she had a little bit more fullness there, a little more roundness. That would pay off to where bicep and tricep are not an issue. But this is something all you competitors watching want to keep an eye on. If you reduce, your width up top, that's going to be an issue, and it's going to make, bicep tricep look a little bit more imbalanced in that realm. Could be looking a little too dominant. Either way, second place here, nothing to scoff at. Great physique overall for the criteria bikini. Not as much from the lat sweep here, as we'll notice, right, compared to Emily. So that's a factor. Midsection narrow, but not as narrow. So another thing you want to pay attention to as a bikini competitor, get your waist tiny. Okay, whatever you can do. That's combo of posing, combo of dieting, combo of, transverse abdominis exercises, different things. Not doing crunches, not doing sit-ups and stuff like that. That's not going to get you where you want to be. But overall, she does exemplify an hourglass look. For her, she actually does have really good glute and quad and hamstring balance and shape. Overall here, I think that it actually might even just a tad overpower what's going on up top. So for her, maybe a little bit more shoulders here, a little more lat. That would have completed the look overall for her, pulled it through relatively on par, same condition as the first place winner. Let's go take a look over here at Julie in third. So Julie, A little bit leaner than everybody else in the group, and you can instantly start identifying those markers if you are watching, and you're new to this and you're learning as you go. You'll start to see it right here, right? Oblique cut, pretty lean. Okay, abs, pretty lean. Start to see a little bit more threads and feathering going on down here, hamstrings and quads and glutes. A little bit too in that standing leg, like almost always, I'll tell you this. Here's a little hack for you viewers out there. Almost always you can tell if some competitor in bikini is a little bit leaner based on what this leg is looking like. Their weighted leg, in other words, right? The leg that is behind the pose. If that leg looks like this, if it starts to get a little feathery, start seeing a little bit of, these cuts, it can be a lot of times an indicator that an athlete is on the cusp or too lean, or at least leaner in that lineup. So for her, definitely a bit leaner, and that might move her down in placings just a bit. She also doesn't have as much fullness, probably because she's leaner, so a little bit more in the shoulders here. Great shape overall, but maybe just a little bit more. She does have that lat sweep. That's great. Sweeps into the midsection pretty well. That's great. Lower body wise, not as much muscle as either of the other two above her, right? So maybe a little bit more glute, a little bit more hamstring and quad, all of that coming together would pay off well for her, probably placing higher. So she may be too lean. In fact, keep in mind all of these ideas and these criteria reviews and things that I'm doing are my opinions here. I don't know these athletes' feedback directly, but if that was the case, let's say that she was too lean, you can also go with that and say maybe some of that muscle fullness goes away from that conditioning chase, right? A lot of athletes do that where they're chasing conditioning, chasing the shreds, trying to get after it, and you end up, depleting the muscle, or the muscle doesn't look as full, or any of those things that can become, an issue. So let's look to the back now, and what we can see here is a very complete look coming from Emily. So again, remember I said we would definitely see some fullness in the delts from the rear. That's a very full rear deltoid, which again just indicates how much she really compacted that look onto her frame there and brought that muscle development to the key right there. Looking lower body wise, definitely has the overall glute shape, upper glute overall. Glute development here ties in at the hamstring well. This slight separation judges want to note. They're going to look for it. And again, she is a bit dominant in the quads. That's why we can see in the sweep from the back. Typically, I don't see quad sweeps from the back in bikini. Sometimes internationally I do because they generally carry more muscle, but really that's a lot more of what we would see in a wellness type of a physique. So again, a little bit of an indicator of that balance, just a tad off. Still the most complete look on this stage, hence the win, hence the overall. Moving to our second place here, not as much coming from the upper body, right? But definitely a lot coming in lower body. So good overall glute structure and shape. Upper glute is there. Tie-in is present. The lower body, quads, hamstring, everything seems to be in good symmetry. Really what the difference is here is that upper body is not at the same level of development. So really does tie together well, brings that look complete. Upper body, maybe just a tad more muscle, and that balance would then increase and, could have put her maybe into first at that point. Now, looking over at Julie. So Julie, again, being our leanest in the group so far, definitely the leanest here, and you can tell how that does definitely affect the way that the muscles look. So we're just not getting as much fullness from the shoulders at this point. Still good shape, not as much fullness though overall. And lower body wise, a lot of a very lean look with a lot of threads, a lot of feathering going on here. Not as much of a 3D effect from the tie-in, and that comes from some of that glute development kind of getting pulled down, whether that's through dieting or something else. It's not as much fullness, and it's very easy to see that that is not as full of a look from the back. Which again, Bikini Division, it's all about the muscle. You got to have that muscle. If you don't have that muscle, it's not going to favor you as well on stage. All right, let's move now into our fourth and our fifth of this group here. And if you're hanging out with me this long, I really appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up, drop me a comment, subscribe if you haven't yet, because I got tons and tons of more videos coming for you. Promise, great things that are going to help you be a better competitor. So we have Nadia over here in fourth, and then we have Christina over here in fifth. So these two coming into our lineup, we will leave Emily right in the middle there and continue to compare. But what we can see here overall from Nadia is good overall shoulder shape, not as much development, so not as much shoulders going on here, not as much from the lat in general, good taper into the waist, lower body wise, glute, hamstring, quad, all there. Honestly, the quads look a little bit like they could maybe add some more development. Overall for her physique though, what I think is going on here, lower body can appear Posterior chain wise, just a tad dominant compared to the shoulders, compared to the quad. And also conditioning is a little bit softer, right? So pretty close, but a little bit softer, where we start to see less of these lines. These lines get a little bit more blurry. And, you know, conditioning also can really equate from also the amount of muscle you have. So she has good shape, but maybe she doesn't have as much muscle, so that doesn't look as lean, right? And up top, we can tell needs a little bit more development, especially compared to first place winner here, Emily, to create that width. But overall, great, you know, on par with what you're going to see at these type of events, these regional bikini competitions. That is pretty on par with criteria for a 4th place slot. Now looking over here at Christina in 5th. So Christina, overall, good shape, good structure, bikini competitor through and through. You know this. Does not have as much development. I think that's pretty evident. You know, needs a little bit more shoulders here, more glute overall. This upper glute, right? This is a note for all you bikini competitors. Make sure you really got your upper glute dialed, rounded, filled out. That's what you need. If you don't have that, it's going to come up in the judging for sure. Judges are looking for it 24/7. And lower body wise, not as much coming from the hamstrings and, you know, from the quads, from really any of it compared to the front. So first place, in other words, right? So realistically, very clear message from judges. Bikini, we want more muscle. We don't also want you to be too lean. We don't want you to be too soft. We want to see that shape and that structure. Pretty much everything I've been talking about on all of my recent reviews. From the back, we get the full story, as I always say on this channel, and we do. This is where Nadia, again, you know, we can tell needs a little bit more shoulder development there just to balance out this lower body. Great structure in the lower body, good upper glute shape, overall glute shape. Quads, definitely a bit, you know, pull in here a little bit bigger from the back, but overall, this all balances pretty well. Again, this is, you know, an international competition. We tend to see that. She definitely has a bit softer of a look. We're not getting as much of a tie-in here, so that's a factor in scoring, no doubt. And then looking over here at Christina in 5th, virtually this is just because, again, needs a little bit more muscle. Honestly, great shape for this division. Really dials in that look totally. Just needs more upper glute, overall glutes, and just more development to kind of bring through the tie-in, that 3D effect, and compete up against somebody like Emily in this lineup that has a lot more muscle and is just appearing a tad more full in that way. So, you know, these are things you want to be looking at as a bikini competitor out there. And again, like I said, if you're confused, you don't understand, you don't know what to do this trial. Grab your phone right now. You made it this far and you didn't do this, do it. 7-day, you know, teamflex.com/7-day trial. And I'll coach you right there myself. You know, I'll take you through it. I'll teach you everything you want to know. I'm more than happy to do so, and I want to. So check that out, and let me know what you guys think. If you have any competitions you want me to review on this channel, your class even, something like that, drop it in the comments. I'm reviewing the comments. I'm making notes. I'm coming through and hitting on those videos for you. They will be on the channel if you comment what you want to see, even if it's your class, whatever. I'm happy to do it. All right. Thank you for watching. Coach Ryan is out.